I'm Dakin, a hacker quietly working in the shadows of the deep web. My job is pretty straightforward. Break in, collect sensitive information about women I happen to see on trains, in supermarkets or on the streets, and sell it. That night, while I was uploading a few screenshots of stolen messages onto my deep web account, a customer placed an order. Their request was simple. Spy on the messages of any female student on the subway. I frowned. A strange request, but nothing too difficult for me. Putting on a pair of contact lenses with a hidden camera and a wide-brimmed hat to conceal my face, I stepped out of my apartment and got to work. At 4 p.m, I was on the subway. It wasn't rush hour yet, so the train wasn't too crowded. I quickly scanned the passengers. A short-haired schoolgirl sitting alone caught my eye. She was leaning against the door, her fingers flying across her phone screen. She was the perfect target for today. I pretended to be just another passenger and casually moved closer to her without raising any suspicion. She glanced at me briefly before going back to her texting. Feeling confident, I silently hoped I'd find something interesting to dig up today. It seemed like she was texting a boyfriend named Naga. At first, the messages were pretty ordinary, just small talk and some random complaints. But then the tone began to shift. The words started to change. I began to feel intrigued, waiting for something shady to show up. Strange words appeared. Handle, bury, grind, and finally the head. I held my breath, unable to look away. I was reading the messages of a killer. The next message shocked me to my core. It was a photo of the victim. For a moment, I was frozen in disbelief. Then it hit me. I knew the victim all too well. Months ago, a Telegram account named You hired me to gather every detail about this man. From the way she spoke, I could tell my client was a young woman, while the target was a married man. And now, he was dead. Had I indirectly sent him to his death? Lost in thought, I suddenly jolted back to reality when I noticed the girl had turned around, her eyes locked onto mine.
Stop snooping,
she said, her voice calm but chilling. I cowardly avoided her gaze, pretending I didn't know anything. I tried to act normal, but then her phone chimed with a new message. My curiosity got the better of me, and I stole another glance. The message was from her boyfriend. My heart nearly stopped. I realized I'd crossed a line, and now I was in the sights of two killers. The girl turned to me again, this time flashing a twisted, eerie smile.
Yes.
The blood in my veins turned to ice. I stumbled back, hitting the train door. Without wasting another second, I bolted, running toward the last car of the train. I thought I could escape. After getting back to my apartment, I locked the door. 3 layers of locks. I leaned against it, gasping for air, trying to calm myself. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was that You account again. They sent me a video. My hands froze as I stared at the screen, fear rising in my chest. But I couldn't fight my curiosity and tapped to open it. The video. It was me, running back to my apartment. They had been watching me. My hidden camera lenses. They hacked them. My heart raced. Then I heard it. The sound of my electronic lock. Someone was entering my passcode. Before I could react, the door was kicked hard. The locks I thought would protect me started to give way. Panicking, I ran toward the window, but just as I reached it, the glass shattered. Shards flew across the room. She walked in. Yuko, a knife strapped to her thigh, her cold, predatory eyes locking onto mine. I screamed, my voice cracking. "You're you! I gave you the information you wanted. We had a fair deal. Why are you after me?"
Because you know too much.
Before I could react, Naga appeared behind me, grabbing my arms and pinning me in place. I struggled, yelling for help, but it was useless. Yuko stepped closer, her voice cold and even.
I've discovered that handling someone is quite fun. And your deep web account, your client list, that's exactly what I need to hunt down my next victims.
Ivy, are you home yet?
Tonight was supposed to be a great night for Mike and me, until I downloaded Phantom Tag, a photo app that can automatically tag people present in the pictures. That app is trying to destroy my mind by tagging Addie, my friend who died exactly a year ago. Addie was my best friend, and a year ago she was brutally murdered by a killer. The perpetrator was meticulous, and all the evidence at the scene was washed away by the heavy rain that night. My Addie died unjustly like that. I feel deep sympathy for Addie, but having to passively accept her presence in this way terrifies me. I want to delete this damn app right away, but I can't delete it. I should have realized it from the very name and icon of this app, Phantom Tag, that it was strange, like a curse haunting me. But the moment I heard that name from Mike's mouth, I couldn't say no to him. Today is Mike's birthday, and also the 1 year since Addie passed away. We met again, quietly sipped wine, and reminisced about the beautiful memories we shared with Addie. I wanted to take a photo with Mike as a keepsake, but my phone notified me that my iCloud storage was full, which made me feel so embarrassed. Mike, however, teased me playfully and even suggested that I download Phantom Tag to take pictures. Mike gave me an awkward smile, but his eyes seemed to drift off somewhere far away, or maybe toward Addie, whose name has been deeply rooted in his heart. I tried to ignore the uncomfortable feeling inside me. Right at that moment, my phone rang with a notification that the app had finished installing. I quickly raised my phone to take a picture, trying to lift the mood for both of us. And when I opened that cursed app, my nightmare officially began. Addie's name suddenly appeared right in front of me in the very first photo I took with Phantom Tag. Cold sweat poured down my body like a shower as I gripped my phone tightly, fearfully looking around. Only when Mike called my name did I calm down. Judging by his reaction, it seemed like he didn't notice anything strange in the app. Mike took my phone and continued taking pictures. Addie's name didn't appear again. We ended up with a very cute photo together. I reassured myself that it must have been a glitch in the app, or maybe we had mentioned Addie too much today, causing me to become paranoid. I consoled myself, said goodbye to Mike, and went back home. But I made a mistake. This app is truly turning my life upside down. Just then, Mike called. and my heart was soothed by his warm voice and sincere concern. I hung up the phone and calmed down. Addie has been dead for a year, and I've lived peacefully for the entire year. I am the one who has won in the end. After that night, strange events continued to happen. Phantom kept tagging Addie in all of my photos. I tried to ignore the possible presence of Addie, but the places where Addie was tagged became increasingly bizarre. Things got worse when I took a picture in my backyard. In the frame, there was a girl lying on top of my flowers, which made me frown in annoyance. But when I looked at the captured photo, my small soul felt crushed. In the picture, I saw Addie lying under the tree with 17 stab wounds on her body. The wounds were identical to the night she was murdered. I couldn't bear it. Addie's face appeared on the screen. Her pitch-black teeth seemed ready to devour me. I screamed in terror, threw my phone, and ran away. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door tightly. But when I looked down, I saw Addie's feet right in front of the door. Addie pounded on the door, and from her feet, a grotesque black liquid began to ooze, spreading towards mine. Panicked, I backed away from the door and that filthy liquid. Suddenly, the door became quiet. I let out a sigh of relief, thinking it was all over. But when I raised my hand to wipe the sweat from my face, I was horrified to find my hand covered in the same pitch-black liquid that was leaking from Addie's feet. I quickly turned to look in the mirror. Staring back at me was my haggard, terrified face, and on my body were 17 strange black marks. The black liquid was spreading from those marks, soaking through the shirt I was wearing. Frenzied, I tore off my shirt, and then I realized these scars. They were Addie's wounds. On my body, there were 17 stab wounds identical to what had happened to her. In a panic, I smashed the mirror. Glass shards scattered all over the floor, some cutting across my face. But when I looked down, I saw Addie. She was crawling on the ceiling, her head twisted backward, her black, hollow eyes staring straight at me, and her mouth stretched into a maniacal grin as she lunged at me. I screamed, but it was too late. She pounced, pinning me to the floor, holding me down. A dizzying sensation overwhelmed me, and the blurry memories I had always tried to bury slowly came into sharp focus. I heard Addie's cries, the sound of furniture breaking, the chaotic mix of violent noises. Addie weakly called for help. But strangely, I felt my heart in my chest grow cold, without a shred of sympathy. I stood there indifferently, observing everything around me. Tonight, this alley, this weather, it was the perfect place to commit a crime. Addie was as good as dead. The screams of pain, hatred, then helplessness. Eventually, all that remained were soft hissing sounds escaping through Addie's clenched teeth. She was probably praying for the gods to take her away quickly. The lightning struck at a very unfortunate moment. Addie saw the face of her killer, and it was me. Addie is coming for my life. Addie wants revenge. Addie knows everything about me now. No, I refuse to accept this. I can't lose to a ghost. But my throat has gone numb, unable to make a sound. The endless darkness slowly envelops me.
It was past midnight, and my room was lit only by the blue glow of my computer screen. I was always curious about the boundaries of technology, so I decided to test the limits of an AI art generator. I'd been messing around with different prompts just for fun. Then an idea popped into my head, a twisted, dark idea that I immediately regretted. I typed in, "the face of my killer." As soon as I hit enter, I felt a shiver run down my spine. The AI whirred into action, and I stared at the screen, waiting. Normally, the AI would produce 4 different images, each slightly off in some way, distorted fingers, mismatched eyes, or odd backgrounds. But this time, something was different. The screen flickered and 4 images appeared. All the same, the face was hauntingly realistic. No warped features or strange lighting. Just the same man, repeated 4 times. He looked to be in his 30s, with greasy auburn hair slicked back from his pale, sweaty forehead. His lips curled into a sneer, as if mocking me for even daring to summon him. He wore a filthy black t-shirt under a grimy red and black apron, leaning casually on a dirty formica table in a grimy kitchen. A chainsaw rested on the table, perfectly rendered as if it had been photographed. But it was his eyes that caught my attention. Beady black eyes that seemed to look straight through the screen and into my soul. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was staring directly at me. The clock on my screen read 1:13 a.m. How long had I been staring at that face? Anxiety clawed at my chest, and I had an overwhelming urge to delete the image, block the AI. But instead, I typed in a new prompt. The face of my future lover. The AI churned out distorted, shadowy figures, none of them remotely similar to the man in the previous image. I tried other prompts. A friend's face, my next-door neighbor, a stranger at the park. Nothing. No matter what I tried, none of the images came close to resembling the man who seemed so real, so present. Maybe it was just a glitch, I told myself. A one-off error in the software. But deep down, I wasn't convinced.
Hey, Bobby!
The next day, I couldn't get the man's face out of my mind. He haunted my thoughts, his sneer mocking me whenever I closed my eyes. I still couldn't believe what happened last night, so I ran the AI again. I typed another prompt. What is my killer doing right now? The response was unsettling. A blurry image that gradually revealed itself to be a man lying on a mattress in a dimly lit room. I felt a chill as I recognized the same man from the previous images. The realism was unnerving. It was like a photograph taken from some unseen camera in his room. I tried another prompt. Show me my killer's house from the street. This time, the images were even more detailed, showing a nondescript house with a broken fence and a rusted car in the driveway. I could even make out the street sign in the background. I looked up the address on the internet, and it was real and only about 5 kilometers from me. The whole thing felt too real, too specific. I told myself it was just a coincidence, a fluke of the AI's programming. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a coincidence. I became obsessed, spending hours generating images of this man's life. I knew his name was Ronnie from a name tag in one of the images. I saw his messy room, his girlfriend Katie, and even the brand of cigarettes he smoked. The more I saw, the more I felt like I was intruding on something private, something forbidden. But Ronnie seemed to sense it too. The images showed him getting more paranoid, looking over his shoulder, staring directly into the camera as if he knew I was watching. Finally, I decided to stop. The whole thing was getting out of hand. But just as I resolved to let it go, the AI showed me something that froze my blood. I'd typed in the prompt, "My killer right now." Ronnie stood in the dim kitchen, gripping a saw, its blade slick with blood. His eyes locked onto mine with a twisted grin, daring me to move. On the floor, in dark, smeared letters, the chilling words "I can see you too" were written in blood, adding an air of ominous dread that made my heart race. I shut my computer, heart pounding in my chest. This wasn't just a glitch anymore. This was something far more sinister, something that defied explanation. I tried to stop after that, but I couldn't. It was like an addiction. I needed to see more, to know more. Every day I'd check in on Ronnie, watching him as he went about his life, feeling a sick thrill at the thought that he might somehow know I was there and planning to kill me. Then one day the images stopped being so mundane. I typed in, my killer current location, and the AI generated a view of a street that looked unsettlingly familiar. It was my street. My hands shook as I refreshed the image, again and again, watching as the figure drew nearer. It was Ronnie, without a doubt. He was coming for me. Panic set in. I locked every door and window, grabbed the largest knife I could find, and sat in the dark, waiting. My computer screen showed my front door now, the image slowly processing. I didn't need to look. I already knew what it would show. The doorknob rattled. My breath caught in my throat as the door slowly creaked open. I raised the knife, my heart pounding in my chest. There he was, standing in the doorway, exactly as the AI had shown him.
You shouldn't have been watching.